RC Strasbourg Alsace is not just another French football club with a long history and a loyal fan base. It is a club whose story mirrors the history of its region, Alsace, a borderland shaped by French and German influence, war, identity, pride, and survival. Founded in 1906 and based in Strasbourg, the club is commonly known as RC Strasbourg, RCS, or simply Racing. Today, it plays at the Stade de la Meinau and competes in Ligue 1, the top tier of French football. But the simple facts hide a far more dramatic story. Strasbourg has won major trophies, played in Europe, collapsed into financial liquidation, fallen to the 5th tier, and climbed all the way back to the top division. Few clubs in France combine glory, instability, and regional symbolism quite like Racing. To understand RC Strasbourg, you first have to understand where it comes from. Strasbourg is the capital of Alsace, a region on the eastern edge of France, close to Germany. Over modern history, Alsace has repeatedly shifted between French and German control, and that shifting identity deeply shaped the club. Racing was founded when Strasbourg was part of the German Empire, not France. The club began life in the Neudorf district, a working-class area of the city, and from the start it carried a popular local identity. This mattered because early football in Strasbourg was not just about sport. It also reflected class, language, and cultural belonging. Racing's roots were not in elite circles, but in a community trying to define itself in a complicated border region. The club's original name was 1. FC Neudorf, a name that reflected its German imperial setting and its neighborhood origins. But after the First World War, Alsace was returned to France, and the club changed with it. It became Racing Club de Strasbourg, inspired by Racing Club de France and the sporting culture associated with Pierre de Coubertin's world. This was more than a rebrand. It was a signal of Francophilia, a gesture toward France at a time when Alsace was re-entering the French national story. The name Racing linked the club to French sporting ideals, but the team remained deeply Alsatian. That tension between French identity, Alsatian roots, and German historical influence has always made Strasbourg different from many other clubs in France. RC Strasbourg became a professional club in 1933, entering the modern era of organized French football. Professional status gave the club a new platform, but it also placed it inside a football system where financial pressures, competitive ambition, and regional expectations would constantly collide. The Stade de la Meinau, the club's home since 1914, became the physical heart of that journey. More than a stadium, La Meinau developed into a symbol of continuity. Through war, relegation, bankruptcy, and rebirth, Strasbourg supporters kept returning there. In French football, stadiums often carry memory, but La Meinau carries something especially strong, the feeling that the club belongs to the city and that its ups and downs are shared by the community. The Second World War pushed the connection between club and region into one of its darkest chapters. Like many Alsatians, RC Strasbourg players and supporters experienced evacuation, annexation, and pressure from occupying authorities. Alsace was evacuated in 1939, annexed by Germany in 1940, and from 1942 to 1944 many Alsatians faced the threat of forced incorporation into the Wehrmacht. In this context, football could not be separated from politics or survival. Strasbourg's identity was tested by occupation and by the broader attempt to force Alsace into a German national framework. After the war, when Alsace returned definitively to France, Racing became part of a renewed French story, but one marked by trauma and complicated memory. After the war, Strasbourg achieved some of its most emotionally powerful triumphs. The club won the Coupe de France in 1951 and again in 1966, victories that resonated beyond the football pitch. In a region still negotiating its place inside France after decades of political upheaval, these cup wins carried symbolic weight. They were sporting successes, but also public moments of recognition. Strasbourg was not simply participating in French football, it was proving it could stand at the center of it. The club would later win another Coupe de France in 2001, giving it 3 titles in that historic competition. For supporters, these trophies helped build the idea of racing as a club capable of rising in decisive moments. The greatest league achievement in RC Strasbourg history came in 1979, when the club won Division 1, the competition now known as Ligue 1. This title placed Strasbourg among the champions of French football and remains the high point of its domestic league history. Winning the league is different from winning a cup. A cup can be a run of inspired matches, but a league title requires consistency over an entire season. Strasbourg's 1979 triumph proved that racing could be more than a regional underdog or occasional cup threat. It could be the best team in France. That achievement still defines the club's ceiling, proof that, despite all later turmoil, Strasbourg has once stood at the summit. Strasbourg is one of a select group of French clubs to have won all three major domestic trophies, the Ligue, the Coupe de France, and the Coupe de la Ligue. The club won the Coupe de la Ligue in 1964, 1997, 2005, and 2019, making that competition another key part of its identity. The 2019 triumph was especially meaningful because it came after the club's modern rebirth from financial collapse. Winning silverware after nearly disappearing gave supporters a powerful reminder that racing's story was not only about suffering. It was also about recovery. The club's trophy cabinet shows an unusual balance, enough glory to belong in French football history, and enough instability to remain unpredictable. That instability is one of the defining features of RC Strasbourg. The club has played more than 2,000 matches in France's top flight across 67 seasons, putting it among the country's long-standing elite participants. It has also appeared in European competition, playing 52 European matches since 1961. But alongside that impressive record is a pattern of repeated setbacks. Strasbourg has experienced relegation at least once in every decade since the early 1950s. It has also changed managers 52 times across 75 years of professional play. Those numbers tell a story of ambition without long-term calm. Racing has often had the scale, support, and history of a major club, but not always the stability to match. The lowest point came after the 2010-11 Championnat National season, when RC Strasbourg entered financial liquidation and was demoted to the fifth tier of French football. For a club that had won the French title, lifted national cups, played in Europe, and built generations of support, this was a stunning fall. Financial liquidation is not just relegation. It is a structural collapse that threatens the very continuity of a club. Strasbourg had to start again far below the level its history suggested it belonged. Yet this crisis also revealed the strength of its local identity. Supporters did not treat the club as finished. Instead, the fall became the beginning of one of French football's most remarkable comeback stories. Renamed RC Strasbourg Alsace, the club began its climb back through the divisions. The addition of Alsace to the name was fitting because the comeback was not just institutional, it was regional. Racing won the CFA Championship in 2012-13, taking an important step out of the lower tiers. Then, in 2015-16, Strasbourg became Championnat National champion, moving closer to professional football's upper levels. The revival was built stage by stage, with each promotion restoring part of the club's lost status. For supporters, these seasons were not glamorous in the traditional sense, but they were deeply meaningful. Every win felt like a statement that the liquidation had not erased the club's past or its future. The comeback reached a major milestone when Strasbourg won the 2016-17 Ligue 2 championship and returned to Ligue 1. In just a few years, the club had gone from the fifth tier to the top flight, an achievement that captured the imagination of French football. It was not a simple fairy tale, because the years of collapse had been real and painful. But that is what made the return powerful. Strasbourg had rebuilt credibility, organization, and belief. Back in Ligue 1, racing was again facing the biggest clubs in France, once more filling La Meinau with top-level football. The club's presence in the first division was no longer something inherited from history, it had been earned again. RC Strasbourg Alsace stands today as one of French football's most resilient institutions. Its story includes a 1906 foundation, a home at Stade de la Meinau since 1914, professional status from 1933, a league title in 1979, multiple domestic cups, European appearances, constant managerial change, repeated relegations, liquidation, and an extraordinary rise back to Ligue 1. But the deeper story is about identity. Strasbourg is a club shaped by its city and region, by the border between France and Germany, by war and memory, by working-class roots and civic pride. Racing's history is not smooth, but that is exactly why it matters. It is a reminder that football clubs are not only defined by trophies. They are defined by the communities that refuse to let them disappear. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.